You can say what you want about this Syracuse team, but it is very clear they are never out of it. Just a few days ago, the Orange took on Cal to the wire, beat a 17-win team. Today, an even better SMU team, and Syracuse got the job done, 79-78. Another very close nail-biter of a game. This thing went back and forth. It was all over the place, so we have so much to talk about. Orange Press Pass with you for the next 30 minutes, and it all starts right now. Welcome into our CitrusTV studios. That's Ben Chadwick. That's Ryan Croke. I'm Hudson Ridley. Guys, this was a really fun game to watch, one where Syracuse didn't lead for 90% of the game, but still, Ben, they got it done. Your first thoughts on this game?
It was a massive game. Don't get me wrong, right, Ryan? But keep your heads on straight, right? This is not a win that is going to change the complete outlook of the season for Syracuse. It's a small step towards a March Madness goal that is extremely, extremely far away. I don't want to take away from a win. This is a big, big win, but act like you've been there before, right? This is a win that can lead to something great, but this is not a great thing in and of itself.
Yeah, I fully agree with you 100%. You talk about a March Madness run, something that would really help this team get there if they had one. Can you imagine if this team had a true center? Yeah. They really need one, and you saw it today. SMU was dominant all day on the boards and on the glass, and Syracuse found a way to overcome that, but Will Kyle and Donnie Freeman just looked like they were completely outmatched down low, and if this team had a true big man that could go up and get a board and get some second chance points, I mean, they'd be set.
There are a lot of questions right now. That is evident. What we do have for you, at least today, are the answers from this game, of this 79-78 win for Syracuse. How did we get to this point? Well, early on, things were not looking so great for the Orange. 17-7, SMU coming in back-to-back games against 17-win teams for the Orange. Boopie Miller didn't do much in the first half. Corey Washington did. Knocks down the 3, 9-6 lead for SMU, but Nate Kings, who was great again yet today, knocks it down from the corner. 11-9, the SMU lead. Guys, it was on the fast break and down low, Ben, where SMU really got going.
And the size disadvantage between the two centers, like Ryan just talked about, was exploited by SMU all game long against SU.
30 points in the paint in the first half for SMU. The Orange wouldn't go quietly into the half, though. Kept things very close. Corey Washington adds on 2 more, 39-35. Through the first 20 minutes. How about the second 20? Boopie Miller finally getting going from the corner. Had no points in the first half. SMU's leader in scoring. But then Kyan Anthony, the answer. He had 13 points in this one. Tied for the most he's had against an ACC opponent. And just 1 assist. A lot like his father. Check out that 3 right there. He didn't get any space to land either. That could have been a 4-point play. That's what he's wondering about. The Orange offense lit it up from downtown. They took 33 pointers, including that one from Nate George. Not something we see a lot, Ryan.
No, and that's what you really like to see. I mean, you put up a lot of threes. The Analytics darlings love the high-volume three-point shooting, and it paid off today.
Kyan Anthony there on the and 1 to get Syracuse within 1 point. SMU would take the lead on a bounce, though. A 1-point game. So what do the Orange and Adrian Autry dial up? Well, it starts with Nate George, but the real hero as of late has been Nate Kings. Gets a clear out for Boopie Miller. That is size on not a lot of size. He takes him to the rack and drops it home. The final last gasp. We've seen SMU hit those this year. Not this time. 79-78. The Orange take down SMU. Donnie Freeman, someone we haven't really talked about as much as maybe we should have through these first couple minutes, had himself a good game.
He absolutely did. Now, look, against Cal, he had 16 points. I get it, but he did not have a good game against California. He had 10 extra minutes of basketball to play because of that double overtime. This was an actual good game from Donnie Freeman.
Yeah, and you like what you see out of him. I also like what you see out of Nate George, a guy who's really started to heat up these last few games. Another solid performance today, 5 of 9 shooting. Have to like what you're seeing from him.
You certainly do. Donnie Freeman's been very up and down today, though, helping the Orange get the win, 79-78. Guys, we're bringing in a special guest here. Jared Valentin was in the Dome, so that means, of course, today for us, this is Valentine's Day, Jared. I love the pink shirt underneath, too. You're really fitting the vibe. My first question for you has to do with the last play of that game. We saw videos of Autry drawing something up in the huddle. What did he have to say about that final play in the postgame press conference?
Hudson, you'll be happy with this answer. He said that that's exactly what we drew up. We wanted Nate Kings to get the ball down the stretch, and he was the guy that, like I just said, Syracuse wanted to get the final shot. He said that Nate Kings specifically is a guy that can get to the paint in these moments and can get a shot off with a limited amount of time, and he wanted him to get that final shot, and he said that Nate Kings executed it to perfection. Couldn't have done it any better. And I talked to Nate Kings after that shot, and he said that having that much confidence from Adrian Autry and the rest of this Syracuse team means the world. That's a guy who came to this team this year and is in his first year with the program. That confidence means everything to Nate Kings, and according to Adrian Autry, that was the master plan all along. Get Kings the ball, let him cook, get that final shot, and that's what Syracuse did.
And Jared, I mean, obviously looking at the seats behind you right now, pretty empty, but during the game, it seemed like a very packed house in the Dome. What did you see from the Dome and from the fans inside, as well as what did Coach Autry have to say about it?
Yeah, Ben, this is a complete 180 from what it was like just a few hours ago in the Dome, and it was one of the things that head coach Adrian Autry pointed out right away in the press conference. He said that this atmosphere was electric, and especially in that second half was when you saw it the most, when guys like Tyler Betsy and Kyan Anthony came into the game and started lighting it up from downtown. That's when this crowd was on its feet for seemingly most of the entire second half, and once this Syracuse team got it to within 1 point, within 2 points, and even single digits, this crowd was animated, roaring, booing SMU players when they went to the free throw line, and cheering on when Syracuse even got just something as simple as a defensive stop to go the other way. This crowd was on its feet, electric, roaring, passionate, and really couldn't have asked for a better crowd turnout, and ultimately it helps and got SU the win.
Jared, a quiet day for J.J. Starling, just 4 points and 6 field goal attempts. Didn't play for most of that second half, especially down the stretch. Was there any explanation for the lack of Starling today?
Yeah, head coach Adrian Autry kept it simple post-game. He said that SMU was playing a lot of zone, and he wanted some of the shooters off the bench like Tyler Betsy and Kyan Anthony to come in the second half and really expose that zone that SMU was playing. That's why you saw them come in early in the half, and in turn, they lit it up. Tyler Betsy, 13 points, Kyan Anthony, 8 points respectively. They hit 3 after 3 after 3, and I just mentioned how this crowd was getting into it. They were getting into it, and it was giving them confidence to not only hit open shots, but to hit more difficult shots down the stretch that Syracuse needed. He wanted those guys to get in, and he kept Starling on the bench down the stretch, and he pointed out Starling and praised him in particular after the game. When he was asked why Starling was sitting out, he said he couldn't have been happier with that decision. Starling took the back seat, let guys like Anthony and Betsy and eventually Nate Kings do the heavy lifting and contribute down the stretch. But to answer your question, Ryan, just as simple as SMU was playing zone and Syracuse wanted to expose that.
Certainly not a result that we expected in terms of J.J. Starling not playing that long, but Jared, they still pulled out the win. We thank you very much for joining us here on Orange Press Pass, and when we roll on, we've got plenty more for you. More thoughts on this game in terms of what happened, and also a look around the NCAA. All that and more coming up next on Orange Press Pass. Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. Hudson Ridley with you. That's Ben Chadwick, and that's Ryan Croke. Syracuse taking down SMU 79-78. We've got a lot to go with that, but before we do, there are more games around the NCAA. So let's take a look here. Guys, starting UCLA, Michigan, utter dominance by Michigan in this one. A real bounce back after a close game with Northwestern. Ben.
And how about Iowa State over Kansas? My goodness, two former Syracuse opponents. And guess what? Syracuse lost to Iowa State a whole lot more than they lost to Kansas, and it showed in that ball game right there as well.
Yeah, that's a huge result on the national level because Kansas has won 8 straight. They just beat the #1 team in the land, Arizona, and now they get blitzed by Iowa State. That's a very big result.
Yeah, a full slate of games around the country. When you take a look at the ACC as well, a couple of games to note. Duke, really no trouble with Clemson at home in a 67-54 win. And then Louisville continues to pour on major points, this time against Baylor, Ben.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what we expected, right? Duke beat Clemson by a sizable amount. Louisville handled Baylor quite easily, and North Carolina handled Pitt quite easily as well. A lot of things that many people expected, even without Caleb Wilson specifically, North Carolina getting the job done.
Well, my eyes here go to that Miami-NC State game. Talk about two teams in the ACC who really aren't seen as anything crazy on the national level, but they have some high upside. I think either one of these teams, if they get in the tournament, can make some noise. You see Miami took down NC and North Carolina the other day. That's a close game in the second half. I'm excited to see who comes out on that one.
Yeah, both of those teams kind of remind me of each other, so that's a good shout, Ryan. I'm intrigued to see what happens down the stretch with that. A lot of teams still jostling for position, SMU being one of those teams. When they play the way they did today, guys, you never really know what you'll get from them. Down the stretch, losing a couple big men hurt, but early on, the domination point was points in the paint. Ben, Syracuse could not stop anything down low from SMU.
Well, there's two main reasons for me, right? One of them is Syracuse running the 2-3 zone. It is so easily penetratable, and so many college coaches and teams know how to get by it, either on the three-point arc, or if they're not rolling, or if they're not hitting them, they happen inside, right? SMU exploited that today, and also Syracuse just got out-hustled and mistimed so many jumps on the defensive glass. SMU, in that first half specifically, out-rebounded SU on the offensive glass nearly as much as SU had rebounds total on the game. Those two put together obviously did not result in a great first half for the Orange.
Yeah, and then you look at the total game, 44-26, the final totals there. And I look at the second chance points. SMU had 27-6 for Syracuse. Just an unbelievable disparity there. And you look at the difference between today's game and against Cal the other day. The second chance points, they doubled them up against Cal compared to today, just 6.
It's very hard, especially when you consider the fact that William Kyle is not really a true 5, and when he has to go up against a couple of true 5s that SMU brought to the table, that's going to be a lot harder because he does not have that innate ability to score underneath the basket. He only finished in single digits today, as he has for a while, but that's also because Syracuse was kind of spacing the floor a little bit more than they have. Guys, 33 pointers attempted today. That's the most since Syracuse played Kansas all the way back in Vegas. The only time they shot more than that was the game before that against Houston, also in Vegas. So it has been months since Syracuse has shot this many attempts from behind the arc. But unlike those games, this one they actually looked fine from deep, Ryan.
Yeah, and I talked about it earlier. I mean, the analytics darlings, they love the high volume threes. And say what you will about it. I'm not a fan personally. But when it works, you see results like this. A game where you get absolutely dominated down low, and yet the three-pointer keeps you alive. 11 made threes. That's a lot, and I love the spread of it. Kings had 3. George and Kai and Anthony and Tyler Betsy all contributed 2, and then Sadiq White and Donnie Freeman getting into the action with 1 apiece. They spread the wealth here. It wasn't just one guy canning them from beyond the arc.
Yeah, and I'll admit, too, there were a few oh no to oh yes moments in there, right? They were chucking it from deep out there today, but they were falling, right? Making nearly 40% of them is incredibly impressive. And obviously, Nate King's having a fantastic game. I mean, overall, when you really just break it down, the 3-ball was SU's savior today. Points in the paint, we just broke it down before. That's not what was going to win them this ball game. Making those threes is why we're talking about a Syracuse win right now.
It usually never is, especially because Syracuse shoots so few three-pointers, but sometimes things can change and plans can change in the middle of the game, and sometimes you get in shooters late in the game that end up being way better than you had earlier on. Today I'm thinking Tyler Betsy and Kai and Anthony, who really stepped up and started hitting those threes. Guys, the bench in the first half was really bad, but Ben, in that second 20 minutes, they really turned things around.
You said it perfectly. It was a tale of two halves for SU's bench in this game. Toombs for SMU, their center, outscored SU's bench in that first half 10-3, and then SU in the second half comes out with 21 bench points split between Tyler Betsy and Kai and Anthony. They were a massive reason for Syracuse to win this game, and of course, Kai and Anthony is a very volatile player. I understand that, but overall, this bench needs to get more playing times because of the possibility possibilities and the turnouts that they had in this one.
Yeah, and I think this is a game where you see two streaky guys in Betsy and Cayenne both give you some of their best performances of the season. In my opinion, this was Cayenne's best game all year. Just unbelievable second half contributions from those two guys. You gotta love what you got out of those two. But here's the thing. Can you really trust them to keep this up in the long term? We've seen a lot of issues with this bench in recent games. How much is Adrian Autry willing to give them in terms of opportunities out there? It really hasn't been much as of late. Today, they got their chance, and they responded. I expect we'll see them a lot more going forward.
Certainly very possible that we might. There was a couple of bench guys today that I thought, hey, they may be my player of the game, or even Donnie Freeman, who was SU's leading scorer with 18 points. But when you really comb through the box score and look at who made the most consistent impact, it has to be Nate George. Just a couple of weeks ago, nobody wanted Nate George on this team, and now what he's developed into has become another level. Today, 16 points on 5 of 9 shooting. He's finally doing it efficiently, which is a big difference from what we saw earlier. Also, 6 assists was a big difference maker for the Orange, and down the stretch, he played every single minute, a team high 37 minutes, including a team high +9 in the box score. I remember just a few games ago, nobody wanted this guy, and then you look back to the UVA game where he put up an efficient 19 points, and then against Cal was really the engine for this team down the stretch to lead Syracuse to a win. Now what does he do against another good SMU team? He steps up again. I think we're finally starting to see what Nate George can actually bring to a team, and for that, he has to be my player of the game, as he would have been in the UVA game and other games since. Nate George is starting to come into his own, and I am really happy to see where he can go past this point. We've also got a lot more coming up for you on No Pulp. We've got our analysts taking their pick on a whole bunch of different Syracuse men's basketball takes. That and some more when we come back.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. Syracuse takes down SMU 79-78. Guys, we haven't had too much fun yet breaking down the nitty-gritty of this game, and you guys have been a little bit negative. So I'm interested to see what you guys pick for this next section. Guys, it's time to take your pick. All right, so the name of the game for Take Your Pick, I'm going to give you a take, and you're either going to take that or take another thing. Right now, our first one, Donnie Freeman. What's his true position? Is he a 3-4 or a 4-5 when it comes to Syracuse's lineup? Ben, I'll start with you. Where are you going with this?
I'm taking the pick on the 3-4 because that's what he is. That's what he's being scouted as in the NBA or wherever he plays professionally after Syracuse as well. This is a guy who's 6'9" and is so clearly a wing. He plays right now 20% of the plays and of the minutes at center for Syracuse. That is unacceptable to have a guy like Donnie Freeman out of position and so far out of position. Center should never even be mentioned in his name. He is a 3, maybe a 4, not a 4, maybe a 5.
I don't disagree with you from a logic standpoint, but you look at the situation he's in. This is a team that, like I said off the top, does not have a true big man. Who are you going to go to when William Kyle has to get his rest? There's nobody on the bench who's a reliable big man option for this team. Unfortunately for Donnie Freeman, he's got to be the guy they thrust into that role. Is it ideal? No, and he's being scouted at that 3-4 position in the NBA. But unfortunately, that's what this team needs him to play, that big man role when William Kyle's not out there.
But I'm telling you, the starting lineup has to be Donnie Freeman at the 3 and either Sadiq White or Tyler Betsy at the 4, and then you have William Kyle at the 5. I get it, when William Kyle's out, maybe Donnie Freeman has to push up, or maybe that entire lineup has to be pushed up towards the 4 and the 5. But for the most part, 85-90% of the time, Donnie Freeman cannot be playing center for Syracuse men's basketball.
No, I don't disagree by any stretch. I mean, it's just not an ideal situation for him. He plays a center position okay. It's not a big drop off from Will Kyle by any means on the defensive end, especially. But it's just the position he's thrust into.
I definitely get you. And Ben, I heard you running through your lineups as well of, we have this guy here, we have George at the 1, Kings at the 2. Someone I did not hear throughout that entire stretch, though, was J.J. Starling, who has been starting all year, but today he was benched pretty much for the entire second half. So Ryan, now that we've seen Syracuse beat a good team, really without J.J. Starling down the stretch, going forward, do you start J.J. Starling? Would you pick that take?
All right, yes, I absolutely still start J.J. Starling, because here's the deal. We're not talking about J.J. Starling sitting out the first 16 minutes. We're talking about him sitting out the final 16. Did the team need him on the court in those final 16? No, they obviously won the game today. But here's the thing with J.J. Starling. In the long term, this is a single game sample size. In the long term, a shot creator like him is always going to be a net positive. And especially if this team has March Madness aspirations, which somehow there's some way not dead yet. If they make it there, you're going to want a guy like JJ who can create his own shot. There's nobody else in this roster who I trust to create their own look like JJ Starling. So does he have his moments of why is he out there? Yes, and you saw that a little bit today. But his shot creation ability is unmatched on this roster.
There are absolutely guys on this team that you could trust with the ball in their hands, especially in clutch moments. We watched it just an hour ago in the final play of the game when Nate King scored it, right? J.J. Starling is not the only type of player on this team. Because of the transfer portal, Syracuse brought in so many other players like him. It's just unbelievable how he's been for the team this year. And I mean, flat out, without him today, they were better. You mentioned in the final 16 minutes, that's when SU mounted their comeback, specifically without J.J. Starling on the court. You could have Nate George, you could have Nate Kings at the 1-2. After that, J.J. Starling, congrats. You're now a 6th or a 7th man.
Well, guys, just because J.J. Starling can create his own shot, by the way, doesn't mean he should take it. You know who should be taking more shots, though? Nate Kings. He was good again today for the millionth time, but what he did have was also the moment of the game. Nate Kings with the game on the line. Who else do you want in his hand? It's Nate Kings, of course, off the glass, and then on the other end, SMU just cannot convert it. What he did towards the back half of this game in terms of keeping Syracuse in it with the 3 ball was good. But past that, in terms of getting positioning on Boopy Miller, Adrian Autry said it after the game, this is exactly where we want to go. They put it right in his hands, and he delivered. Syracuse 79, SMU 78. We'll have a little bit more for you on Orange Press Pass when we continue to roll on here. Just a couple more minutes for you, so don't go anywhere. Syracuse and SMU in a tight one. We're breaking it down for you the rest of the way.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
A nice ACC win for Syracuse over SMU, 79-78, the Orange on top of the Mustangs. That's Ben Chadwick. That's Ryan Croke. I'm Hudson Ridley. Guys, this is a gauntlet schedule, as we know in the ACC. It's always been that way, but this year even more so, and it does not help that right as Syracuse gets momentum, you go on the road and take on Duke.
it's a tough way to bounce back from a win like this, right? It's tough to keep the momentum going down to Cameron Indoor, playing a top 4 team against the Duke Blue Devils. I know you're going to have to wake up very early for that one tomorrow, as well as I'm sure Syracuse will on top of that. Look, SMU, I think, is the best possible team that Syracuse could beat at this point in the season. So when it comes to Duke and especially Louisville, those two teams I just don't see wins against.
Well, your SMU thought's an interesting one. I'll raise you another one. What about number 11 North Carolina without Caleb Wilson?
Yep.
That's a game that just got very, very interesting and potentially winnable. And I will also look at Louisville on that schedule. Yes, towards the bottom of the poll, but that's a team that's been very streaky. A team that Syracuse certainly could, if things go well, give a challenge and certainly beat.
Certainly not out of things just yet, Ryan. Very interesting. Well, we've heard a lot from me. We've heard a lot from those two, but it's time, one final time, to hear from them. It's time for both Ben and Ryan to sound off.
Yeah, this sound off is a message directly to Coach Adrian Autry. Coach, you need to make the tough decisions now before the tough decisions are made about you later. You made a breakthrough discovery tonight, and I don't think you want to admit it, or any of us really want to admit it. Look, we debated it before, me and Ryan, but it is obvious that J.J. Starling needs to be out of the starting lineup. He didn't play in the final 16 minutes of this ball game, and SU outscored SMU by 11 points without him in that second half. This team looked flat out better with Starling off the floor than with him today. I know he's the most tenured player on this Orange roster, but the realization has to be made from a pure talent aspect. Look, fans may dislike it, but let's be honest, it's not like there's much of a relationship for you to repair or build with them anyway at this point. So it's not fun, but if you make the difficult and correct choice, maybe this team can have some Cinderella success along with some consistency at the top next season.
Look, today's win was awesome. Don't get me wrong. A buzzer beater from Nate Kings. You take down a very quality SMU team. There's a lot to like, but it could very well be just a footnote on an otherwise incredibly disappointing season and an incredibly disappointing head coaching tenure for Adrian Autry. The sad thing is, that's what Autry's Syracuse legacy is going to be if today's win isn't the start of an incredible turnaround story. He won't be remembered as a starter for 3 tournament teams in the 90s. Instead, Adrian Autry's Syracuse legacy will forever be inheriting a declining program and failing to accomplish the near impossible task of turning it around. That's a real shame. Is it his fault? I say no. It's a story you see all the time in sports. An all-time great coach, Jim Boeheim, losing his fastball, and he's replaced by a guy who had a solid run as one of his former players. Why not? Let's keep it in the family. And the replacement was just never cut out for the gig. And he's only ever remembered for his failures as a head coach, and all his good doings as a player, they're completely forgotten about. We're staring down the barrel of that reality, and it's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, that would be very interesting, especially if the Orange get dominated by Duke. That's the next game Monday night, which also means it's our next Orange Press Pass. And guys, this is, I hate to say the meme, verbal meme, hydrogen bomb coughing baby, but we are almost at that point when you look at just the pure numbers division between these two teams. Not to mention Syracuse has to go on the road in one of the toughest places to play, if not the toughest in the nation, Ben.
There's a lot of numbers highlighted in that Duke Blue Devils blue on that board right there, right? I mean, we're all being honest here. That is the flat-out better team with the flat-out better players and the flat-out better coach, and you're going down to Duke. You're going down to Cameron Indoor, maybe the flat-out toughest place to play in the entire country. It's a long shot. Syracuse, go down there, have fun. It's a cool experience for you guys to have and any media that's going down there as well, but it's going to be a loss.
Well, you mentioned all the stats on the left being highlighted. I was on this program yesterday. We were talking about this game, SMU and Syracuse, and all those stats on the left were also highlighted, and that's an SMU team that you just beat. So let's say, hey, maybe you can look at it one of two ways. Well, they beat a team who was better in pretty much every statistical category today. Maybe they can do it against Duke. I say no, because you look at the disparities in those numbers right there on the screen. This is like you said it, hydrogen bomb coughing baby.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get a better comparison between these two teams.
Tell me you did not just compare the Mustangs to number 4 Duke.
Oh, I'm saying all the stats. I'm just saying the facts. All those stats were highlighted on the left yesterday when we were talking about this SMU-Syracuse game. It's the same thing with Duke. They just beat a team who's better than every statistical category today.
Levels.
If
There's
you're an
levels to
optimist,
this,
So Ben,
man.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
What would have to happen in your mind if Syracuse could win this game? Like, what would have to happen?
A miracle. They need a
Boozer
miracle.
doesn't play? Is
there,
this it?
there is no actual way that Syracuse can win this game without something miraculous happening down in North Carolina on Monday.
This will be a very funny clip on the next Orange Press Pass if
so.
Ben Chadwick
I hope so.
is indeed wrong. That's Ben Chadwick, and that's Ryan Croke. We really appreciate you sticking around with us on Orange Press Pass. The Orange take down SMU 79-78 in the Dome.